more about how to love the person that's the most important person to us, which is our spouse, inshallah. And I do suggest that the Youth Halaqah, inshallah, has a marriage workshop series. Our Sheikh did it with us, and I have no issue doing it with another sister that I know, coming here and kind of breaking down what is marriage, because it's a workshop. It's not a one-day halaqah, like you're not going to leave today knowing everything you need to know. And so today I didn't want to aim high and then, land low. I wanted to talk about two important women, right? And how successful they were in their marriages. And when you talk about a successful marriage, it's not just a wife that was successful in her marriage, it was also the husband, right? And so we're going to reflect on both the husbands and the wives and other people and just talk about what makes a great marriage, right? Inshallah. Did you guys change your carpets, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed. Where are they, the old ones? Our Mercedes. I'm joking. I went to a pizzeria on the way here and they were smoking, so I smell like cigarettes. I'm not a smoker, so if you smelled cigarettes, don't judge me. It was the pizzeria. It was great pizza though, great cappuccino. I think you guys ordered pizza from there, brothers, something like that?
Yeah.
Oh man, whoever's dad owns that. I need a part in that share. That's great pizza. All right, are we ready? Take notes. Anything that you felt made you smile, write it down. Because I know a lot of times when I come, we laugh, we feel inspired, and then we go home and we forget what we were inspired by, what we laughed at, what we felt changed us, but we just remember emotion. I want us to be more than just emotions. Christianity is all about emotions. The pastor makes the crowd feel a certain vibe. In Islam, it's not about emotion, but that's easy to influence. We're about perspective, understanding, and change wholeheartedly. Okay? Inshallah. All right. Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Because you guys don't have the hot. Very nice. All right. And so I wanted to reflect on one companion that's a female. Her name is Rumaysa. What's her name? Rumaysa. Radiallahu anha. Rumaysa. One of my friends wanted to name her daughter Rumaysa, and I thought it was such an ugly name because it sounds like romance. And then she said, learn the name, and I promise you, you're going to want to name your daughter Rumaysa. And it's 100%. After I learned her life, I was like, yo, inshallah, I become Rumaysa, my daughter's Rumaysa, we're all becoming Rumaysa. So inshallah, please take note of this woman, an honorable woman. And so she's a woman of Medina. The women of Medina are like the women of New York. Don't know how to be quiet. Ready. Right?
Yep.
Easy. So the woman of Medina would sometimes influence the woman of Mecca. Because the women of Mecca were more calm. The women of Medina were ready with their mouth, with everything. They were just known to be women that, are like us. And so Rumaysa is one of those women that's ready, that does not have no shame, unless there needs to be shame, obviously. And so she was married, and the Prophet Muhammad comes to Medina, her husband's away, and she accepts Islam without her husband. This is a big lesson. Some of us are always waiting for someone to do something good with. Why don't you start wearing hijab? I'm going to do it with my friend. Why don't you start praying? I'm going to do it with my husband. Why don't you go to the masjid? I'm going to do it with my mom. Why can't you be a Muslim on your own? Some of us are so codependent on our spouse, on the future spouse, that we don't realize you are your own individual person. Adam alayhi salam was created as an individual before he became a pair. Allah could have created Adam and Hawa together, but he didn't. He created Adam as a man and Hawa as her own woman. But they are a pair, they complement one another. And so he comes back and he's upset, obviously. When you accept a religion, you're a different person. And he was so upset with her. He went back, when he came back from his business trip, he ended up going back on another business trip, still upset with her, and her still being the woman she is. I don't care. This is the truth. I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to raise our son by this truth. Okay? Her son, her son. Raise your hand if you know Rumaysa. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Anas ibn Malik. That's her son. So when you see a great man, just know a greater woman was there. And so her son, Anas ibn Malik, she has him under Islam. Her husband goes on a trip. He dies on this trip. So now she's a Muslim woman. She's a widow, not divorce. She's a widower. Is that what it's called?
No, widow.
Widower? She doesn't have her husband. Her husband died. She's a single mom, and she's in Medina. A lot of us in our culture, and I know you guys share some cultural norms as all the oppressive countries do, right? Not that your country is oppressive. I know you guys are very liberal. Allah. Sorry, nobody welcome. Okay. All right. And so she's a single mom, and she's a widow, and she's on her own. Any one of us, if a man came and asked for us, our parents would be like, just marry him. We're lucky someone's coming and asking for you. It's so hard to get remarried as a divorcee. Imagine being a widower. People don't like that because they think, oh, she'll never get over her dead husband or his dead wife. And so a man comes for her. Abu Talha, radiallahu anhu. He was not a Muslim. He was what? Not a Muslim, but he was an honorable man. He was a good man. You know those men that give you respect, men that have dignity, men that have a good job, men that can provide. So he was a great man, and Abu Talha comes for her. You would expect what? Her to say yes to him. He expected her to say yes to his proposal. He comes to her, asks for her hand, and she tells Abu Talha, I can't marry you, you're not Muslim. So Abu Talha is shocked that he was rejected by a single mother, by someone whose husband has died. It shocked him. And so he went to the Prophet Muhammad to see what this was all about. That a woman denied me because of this faith. I gotta know who gave this woman this status. And he goes to the Prophet, and as he's walking to the Prophet Muhammad says, Abu Talha is coming with iman between his eyes, with nur between his eyes, and he accepts Islam. The Sahaba, the companions said, no one had a sweeter, most precious dowry than the dowry of Rumaysa. Her dowry was that he accepted Islam. Subhanallah, in a moment where she should have been desperate, where she should be glad someone's coming and asking for her hand. So what if he's not practicing? He has money. So what if he doesn't pray? He has this business. So what if he smokes? So what if he drinks? We become desperate for any man or any girl that comes for us. She's beautiful, but she has no haya. She has no modesty. She's beautiful, but she has no upbringing. Her tongue is disgusting. She's beautiful, but she's in the streets. Is her beauty that important to you? Is his money that important to you? That you're going to let go of your faith? Rumaysa, she taught me as a single woman that never to be desperate. That even though I may need a man, I have standards. No one's saying don't get married. Get married. It is a beautiful blessing. But have some standards for yourself. Abu Talha, he was an honorable man, but she made him a better man. She made him a sahabi. She made him a companion. She made him have, radiyallahu an, may Allah be pleased with him. We have to say that with Abu Talha's name because of her. Because she pushed him towards Islam. Subhanallah. What an amazing woman that she had standards for herself. Not superficial, not that he has to have 3 businesses, he has to give me the house, he has to give me the gold, he has to give me a coffee shop. No, her standard was that I want my husband to be a Muslim, not by name, but by everything that defines him, every action that he has. It shows me he's a Muslim. If you think that's not important, you're fooling yourself. I work in an Islamic school. I have parents that married non-Muslims, and they didn't accept Islam. And they have such a hard time upbringing their children with someone that doesn't see the same vision, have the same goals as them. They may be great people, but if they don't share your faith, it is extremely difficult to have successful and have pious children that you'll be honored to have. The divorces are always so messy. Every court case we have is from a divorced parent that married a non-Muslim woman. Nothing against non-Muslim women, but we have to understand that this comes with a lot of baggage. And so Rumaysa radiallahu anha is an amazing example that no matter how desperate you are in the eyes of the community, whether you're over 25, over 30, and you're not married, whether you're a single mom and you're divorced, it doesn't mean you become desperate and you sell yourself short in the name of Islam. You still look for a good man. It doesn't mean you deserve less. A great man will come and you will make him better. But what's very difficult is when a weak spouse you're approaching, whether that's a woman or a man. When I say husband, I mean wives, okay? Don't get mad at me. I know you guys take it personal. So if you have a weak man, it's very difficult to make him a great man. But when greatness comes, you can make that better. It's easy to expand on greatness. It's hard to make a weak man that have no backbone, no faith, no passion, no structure, no business, no job, a bum in every way, but he's good looking. Most important, he has a beard that connects, and we're going to risk our whole lives on this beard. It's carrying the marriage. So I want you to know there's more. There's more to marriage than looks and money. Rumaysa Anha is a prime example of that. Okay? So I'm going to move forward with Rumaysa's story. I'm going to give you snippets of her life. She's a single mom before she married Abu Talha. What's her son's name again? Anas ibn Malik. This is important for the woman. And I hope the men are understanding the lesson in the retrospect. She had a son. And she was concerned. She's a widowed woman. She does not have a man in her house to raise a man. And this is a humbling factor for us women. You can never raise a man. Only men can raise men. Do you agree? Yes. Just say yes. Don't ask what I said. Only a man can raise a man. All of them, and I want you to think about this. She's a single mom. What do you want her to do? Should she be desperate and marry any guy just so he can be the father figure and her son is not lost and becomes gay and all this other stuff, or God knows what? What should she do? She did what a great woman would do. She took her son, who was 5, 6 years old, to the Prophet Muhammad and said, I want my son to be your servant. I want him to serve you, to slave to you. Whatever you want, he's going to do. As a woman, she put her son first. Not her ego that I'm going to raise him by myself. I don't need no man. No, you need a man. Whether that's his father, whether that's the sheikh, whether that's someone that have a good role model, you need a man to raise a man. Because if not, he's going to find any man to look up to. Whether that's an athlete, a rapper, or some guy in the corner of the street, he'll find a man. But it's best for you to take him to the best of men. All of the great scholars were from single mothers that let their sons, Imam al-Bukhari, be under the hand of other scholars. So even though they're from single moms, they weren't raised by women, they were raised by scholars, by men. You want your son to be a man? Have any of us been sent to the sheikh and say, Sheikh, or I don't know what you guys call your sheikh? Sheikh? Sheikh, I want my son. Just don't worry about anything. I just want him to be around you. You need anything. I want him to do whatever you want. You want a water? You want water? I want you to tell my son. You want the carpet to be vacuumed? Tell my son. You think him serving an honorable person like a sheikh, a scholar, someone of a good role model, you don't think he's going to pick up on his habits? You don't think he's going to start to notice the way the sheikh interacts, the way his etiquettes are and his manners? It doesn't have to be a sheikh, but someone you know that's an honest and great man if you're struggling with being a single mom. Some of you guys are not at the stage, but you never know what might happen. So I wanted to make this point clear, right? And the same thing for the men. You cannot raise a woman. You don't understand women. You need to make sure you bring your daughters to women, even if it's not just your mom, your wife, but other girls in the community, that they're around women that you want them to be just like, to be inspired by. All right? I know this is about marriage. I'm going to get there. But, part of marriage is children. We got to talk about the little ones. All right? And so, now we're going to talk about her son's death. You know her son too, I think. Have you ever heard of the young boy with the bird? That the bird died when the Prophet went to go visit the young boy.
Mike Tyson.
No, not Mike Tyson. This is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Mike Tyson had a pigeon.
Oh, he did?
And someone killed him, and then he became a boxer.
All right, I thought it was a bicycle. I thought someone was taking his bicycle. It wasn't a bicycle? It was a bicycle. Maybe the pigeon was there too. All right, let's stay focused. Yeah. I'm talking about the Prophet. The Prophet visited a young boy whose bird had died. This was Rumaysa's son. All right, follow me. This is important. I want you to listen to this. her son was about maybe 5-6 years old, was very sick. And so Abu Talha, his dad, before he goes to work, check in on his son and then go to work. And then, brothers, he would come back, and on the way back in the house, he'll check on his son and make sure he's okay. So one day he leaves, and he comes back to work, and he's about to check his son, like on his son, and she tells him, no, don't bother him. He's having the best rest of his life. He had died. I want you to see how Rumaysa, radiallahu anha, gives this bad news. That would break any man, any woman's heart, to know that your child died. And you know, it's no offense to the men, but a child's passing is so heavy on the heart of a mother. So heavy. A moment where it should have been about her. Look how kind she was. This is a woman that didn't cause problems, that really gave solutions. That wasn't the one that was the causing trouble, was really making things easier for her husband. And so he comes home, and she says, this is what's narrated, that she put on her best outfit for him. She's easing this terrible news that's probably killing her inside. She said, I put on my best outfit, I made his favorite meal, and then it's even narrated they were intimate with each other after they had their meal. And then she goes to him afterwards while they're just laying with one another, and she says, what if I told you that the neighbors that we borrowed something from said they want it back? What would you say? He said, you have to give it back if we borrowed it. It's not ours. You have to give it back. And she goes, that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done with what we have borrowed from him, our son. Abu Talha is literally in shock, because I want you to know, we're not used to hearing about real women. We're used to seeing the dramatic women, the women that scream and shout and make a scene out of everything, the women that are just about the gossip, women that are just not real women. We're used to seeing that. But when we see a woman like Rumaysa radiallahu anha, a genuine woman, and someone that knows how to hold down her house, take care of her family, even give bad news, he was shocked by this. And he goes to the Prophet. He left the house in absolute shock that this is how my wife broke down the news for my son dying. Even for him, he was shocked. And he goes to the Prophet and he tells him, this is what my wife did. And the Prophet had the biggest smile on his face. He said, were you intimate with your wife? He said, yeah. He said, your offsprings are going to be the best kind of offsprings. And it's narrated that all of her grandchildren were people of the Quran.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good. I was worried about you. I'm strong. She said that, and it's narrated that all of her children became people of the Quran. SubhanAllah, in a moment where she could have been selfish, in a moment where she could have been screaming and wailing and making it about her, she didn't. She knew she's a woman that saw the greater picture. When you're married, you got to think about the long term of this conversation. Is this conversation for the long run? Am I being petty about something? Am I making this about me? Am I being selfish? Or am I trying to make something that's going to last? And so inshallah, I want to switch over to another great marriage. The greatest marriage. I want to talk about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and his first wife, his true love. He married no one when he was married with her, which is Khadija radiallahu anha. When you hear the name Khadija, raise your hand, the name is Khadija. Guys, name some Khadijas out there.
It's not a Bosnian.
Huh? It's not, oh. So let's do this. So Khadija radiallahu anha is such an honorable woman. Before she married the Prophet, she was married twice. She was married once, and then he died. And then she married a second time, and he also died. No kids with either husband. The second husband is where she got all the money from. You know how we know her as a businesswoman? It's not her money. It's money that she inherited from her husband because she didn't have any family or any other kids to give it to, so she inherited the money. So we're clear how Khadija got money? So this is a good lesson right now for the women. The men are not going to like this, maybe. I want you to think about this. La qadarullah, God forbid something happens to your father. Does your mother know how to run the business after him? You gotta think about this. You're not just meant to spend his money and to like live life or whatever. It doesn't mean he has a business. If he's a PA like this one, it's okay, we'll just take his money. But I want you to think about, we're cultural people. A lot of our fathers own businesses. A lot of, our future spouses will own businesses and whatnot. You gotta be smart, like Khadija radiallahu anha, that when her husband passed away, she knew how to take care of herself without him. She was smart, not just using his money, but knew how to make more from that money. So we have to know as women, you're not just meant to be like clueless and ditz and like just like doing nothing and having him do everything. Oh, what does your husband do? I don't know. He just goes for 7 hours and then comes back. How do you not know what your husband's job is? You gotta be smart about this. You gotta know how. Okay, even if your husband maybe is a nurse or a PA or a doctor, you gotta know what's in the bag. You gotta know if he has life insurance. You gotta know the back of him. You know what I mean? You gotta prepare yourself for after him if God forbid something happens to him. You can't be someone that just throws herself to the community's grace or her family's grace. You gotta give yourself some grace as well. Okay? Is that clear? Teach them the job, guys. This one woman in her community, her husband has like so many subways. And I told them, the wife, I said, do you know how to manage them if he something happens? Of course. I manage 2. He manages the other 12. So, you know what I mean? Give yourself some experience in the world. You don't have to work, but you just don't know how to sustain yourself. All right, and so Khadija radiallahu anha, how did she marry the Prophet? Anyone know? Raise your hand. She had a sister who had sheep. And the Prophet was the shepherd for her sheep. And he did it with another man. And when it was time for the job was over, he needs to get the money for it. So the Prophet says, you go get the wages. I'll wait here. I'm too shy to go and ask. So the Khadija's sister is like, where's the other man that was with you? The guy goes, oh, he's so shy. He didn't come for his money. I'm here to take it. So subhanAllah, that alone was something that sparked something in Khadija's sister's mind. That the conversation kind of rippled to her sister. That she brought it up to her own sister. She goes, there's this man, he was so shy and modest that he didn't even come and ask for what was rightfully his, the money, the hard work he put in. And now Khadijah's like thinking about the shyness of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, about the honesty of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. This is what attracted her to him. His shyness, his hayat, his honesty, as-sadiq al-amin, most trustworthy. Sometimes we overlook the importance of modesty. Sometimes we think it's just for women. But men, you don't know how attractive this quality is when a man is modest. When a man doesn't make me feel like I'm something of whatever you want to call it, like makes me feel uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable when you were stared at in this certain way. It's extremely uncomfortable. I don't know if you guys know Yemenis. Great, I'm joking. I'm Yemeni. And so we have like a little town, it's called Little Yemen. So many Yemeni men. And the Yemeni men, some of them are very inappropriate. And when I'm walking in the street and a guy looks at me or follows me or says something, I feel so disgusting. I feel so low. Because I'm like, did I do something to make him chase me, to make him follow me, or to make him say this comment? And then on the next block, another Yemeni is not even looking at me, giving me so much modesty and hayat and dignity that I feel honored by his hayat. His hayat makes me feel like a woman. And his shamelessness makes me feel like some, I don't want to say the word. You get it though. So subhanAllah, I want you to think of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Sulaiman had the biggest kingdom. He spoke to the birds. He spoke to the animals. He spoke to the jinn. He controlled the wind. He had a kingdom like no other. He heard of a town not too far away, Bilqis in Yemen. And he invites her to the town because he heard she's not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so he invites her to his castle. Remember, he has a castle like no other. Boys, you with me? And so she invites her, and he had one of the jinn replicate her kingdom, but he made it even better. So Bilqis comes to the kingdom of Sulaiman, sees her own palace, but on the floor, it's like a mirage. It was made out of crystals and gems, but to her eye, it looked like water. So as a woman, when you're dressing with a garment, what do you do to your garment? You lift it. and she lifted it too high that her legs showed. And Sulaiman alayhi salam, what did he do? No, he didn't stare at her, make her feel uncomfortable. He didn't even try to act like nothing happened. It's okay. We're friends. We're cousins. We're first cousins. But no. He told her, put your dress down. It's just crystals. It's just, it's gems. He gave her dignity. She came to his kingdom and saw everything, miracles that the animals were listening to him. She saw the jinn in his commandment. She saw her own kingdom. She saw the floor. None of that gave her the iman that his modesty did. When he did that, what was her response? She says, Ya Allah, I have oppressed myself, and I bear witness that I believe in the same Lord as Sulaiman. All from his modesty, all from his heart, she accepted Islam. So men, you think your modesty is not important. I'm telling you, it can change a woman's heart. It can change a woman's value when you have modesty and haya. You think of Musa alayhi salam, about the modesty.
She accepted Islam. Everybody in Yemen accepted Islam.
She accepted Islam, went back to Yemen. All of Yemen became Muslim. What a gang, right? Well, mashallah. And all he had to do was be a nice man, kind heart, give a woman some dignity, and not make her feel like she's I don't know. It's all in Arabic in my mind right now. Okay, Musa alayhi salam, his modesty is what attracted him to his wife, and her modesty is what attracted her to him. He comes, he sees the men being savages around the well, only feeding their herd, and the women are to the side. You know how men are when there's free food in the masjid? The women are just waiting in a corner scared, and all the men are like, we're men, we need to eat first. And they take everything and they leave some rice. If we're lucky, we get rice and salata and salad. Not you guys, the Arab men. All right? And he sees them being savages around the well, and he grabs the woman. He goes to the woman, he goes, what's the problem? He didn't go to the woman, hey, what's going on? You're new here. No. He went to the woman, what's the problem? They're like, we want to feed our herd, but they're all in it. First thing I learned is that where there are men, there should never be a woman between them. Where there are women, there should never be a man between them. This is hayat. You're not meant to be pushing yourself through the guys. Guys, you're not supposed to be pushing yourself through the women. This is our faith. This is not culture. This is faith. This is iman. And so he takes, without hesitation, he's not someone like, don't worry, God, I got you. I know these people. No, he takes the herd. He takes their animals, pushes the men because Musa was backed up. He killed a man by accident. That's how strong this man is, alayhi salam. He pushes them, takes the herd to the water, brings them back, and then goes back under a tree. He didn't sit and mingle. Yeah, I know. And it was hard, but I did it. No, he didn't try to make small talk. He didn't try to say more than he needed to. He did what was right, and he left them alone. Big lesson. One of the girls was like amazed by Musa alayhi salam. What a man, right? Not afraid to help a woman. Not afraid to make her feel valued. Not afraid to do just what was necessary and not do more than that. And so, what happened next? She goes to her father and she tells him about this man. The father sees the interest of this woman and he tells her, go get him, I want to reward him. Sometimes we think women having hayat means they're not heard and they're not seen. But then you have this woman walking to a man to tell him that my father wants to reward you. And Allah narrates, وَتَمْشِي عَلَى اسْتِحْيَاءَهَا. She was walking on her modesty. Her modesty was dripping off of her. You talk, you walk, but it has to be with modesty that's dripping off of you. That you're not trying to seduce somebody. That you're not just trying to show your beauty. No, you're showing your purpose. You're showing that you have something to tell someone. You speak to a man because you have to, not because you want to. In times of necessity, that's when you're approaching a man. She walked with hayat to the Prophet Musa alayhi salam. This is what led them to their marriage. This is what led Bilqis to accept Islam and all of Yemen to accept Islam. It was the hayat, it was the modesty of a man. The Prophet said, the most modest person of my ummah is Uthman ibn Affan, a man. He is the most modest person. We always look at modesty just to women. It's important, I'm not going to lie. We need to have haya. We need to try our best to practice hijab in every way possible. We need to make sure we walk, that modesty drips off of us. But men, your haya changes the world. Legit. Our haya protects us. Your haya changes the ummah. That's to the point where you would find nations accepting Islam, to the point where you can find a wife easily. If you're struggling with finding someone to marry, ask yourself, how's my haya? Do I lower my gaze? Do I show someone dignity or respect? Or am I just staring at them right now? Lower your gaze. I'm joking. All right, back to Khadija. This is all about Khadija, guys. But I want to talk about haya because it's so important. Are you guys okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you? I know, again, this is about marriage in different ways. We're going to do a marriage workshop, inshallah. Yeah. I'm not married, by the way, so I just give the advice that married people gave me to the rest of us. We're all in this struggle together, guys. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with great spouses. Say Ameen. Rich husbands, say Ameen. Kind women, say Ameen. Supportive women, say Ameen. Cheap, I'm joking. All right. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right, let's turn back. We're gonna make more dad. Don't worry, guys. We'll get it. Allah's not cheap. Hey, lower your gaze. Okay. So back to Khadija. Back to who? Khadija radiallahu anha. May Allah be pleased with her. Alright. I want you to talk about this moment. The Prophet is married to the love of his life. You know, it's hard to get married, and it's even more difficult to marry someone you actually truly love. Yes or no? Yep. All our parents are married. I can count with one hand how many of our parents are actually in love, right? May Allah bless the love between our parents. Say Ameen. Ameen. I heard that heavy. All right. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is married to the love of his life that he loves with all his heart. Not only that, my friends, he has beautiful children with her. Healthy children. Not only that, he expanded on her business. So he has love in his house. He has children that are pious and good. He has money and business. In my mind, this person is what? Has a great life. Isn't that what we want? Someone we love, children that are healthy and good and righteous, money and business. And yet the Prophet felt something was missing. And I want you to know, he's about 40 years old. Sometimes we call this a midlife crisis, right? 40 years old, he has all these great things. And he says something's missing. I need to be alone. What was his wife's response? Alone? And you have me? I gave you this money. I'm the mother of your children, and you want to be alone? What was her response?
She was like
understanding. He traveled. Driving, it's about 45 minutes. Walking, it's 2 hours. Going up the mountains, it's probably another 2 hours. He was so far from his family, he would stay days and weeks alone in a cave. Qahira, literally alone. The cave is probably 2 of these prayer spots. It's not big. I used to think it was this huge thing that he used to have all this like corner stuff. No, it was just a small space. He left his wife that he loved, his children that were great, the business he had, and he knew this wasn't enough. This is showing me that as husbands, your money, the children, and the wife, it's not enough. It's not enough to sustain you. You need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter how great everything is in the house, if Allah is missing in that house and in your heart, it's not going to last. And so he went to this cave, traveled 4 or 5 hours to be there alone. His wife had to come and bring him food, come on. Imagine your husband says, bring me food to the store. Bring me food outside. Come outside and bring, the argument you're going to, why don't you come inside? Well, I got to come out. I cook, I clean, and then this is us. This is us terrible women. No offense to us. I'm talking about myself too. Remember, we're not used to seeing real women, and so when we hear about real women, we're shocked. that they did this. They made it hard for us. No, they did the right things. She went, walked for almost 2 hours, climbed a whole mountain for another 2 hours, and brought him food to last him a week. She understood that as a wife, you got to support your husband, even if it doesn't make sense to you. If this is what he needs to be closer to Allah, your husbands are probably going to start attending the masjid, get busy with things, and you're going to start to say, you're always at the masjid, so what? Let him be at the masjid. Where do you want him? You're always trying, you're always doing things for the community, so what? What's wrong with that? Be understanding, see the bigger picture, understand that your children are part of this community he's trying to build. And so you got to be a supportive, understanding wife. Like Khadija radiallahu anha. And then the big day happens. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. An angel comes and squeezes the life out of the prophet. Have you ever seen those movies when the walls are closing in on someone? And then the clip ends because they don't want to show us the body exploding, right? I want you to imagine that's how tight the prophet was being squeezed by Angel Jibreel. He thought his body was about to explode. And Angel Jibreel says, Iqra. He says, Ma ana biqari, read. The prophet says, I don't know how to read. He squeezes him again so tight. He says, Iqra, read. The prophet says, Ma ana biqari, I don't know how to read. I'm unlettered, I can't read or write. He squeezes him for the third time. I want you to imagine, like it's the tightest squeeze, that you feel like your ribs are about to cave into your stomach, that you feel like you're about to have the last breath come out of you. That's how tight he was being squeezed. Iqra. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. He reveals to him the Quran. The prophet is shook. He's literally shaking. We've all been scared, but I've yet to, even the people of Gaza that are being bombarded, that their homes are falling on top of them when they come out, it's really rare you see someone come out shaking. Maybe they're just out of it, but I want you to imagine that the trauma the prophet had was worse than that after the angel Jibreel was squeezing him. Seeing an angel is out of this world, being squeezed by an angel is out of this world, to be revealed the Quran, that's a whole another level. So the prophet is shaking, and he goes running. He runs out of this cave. He runs down the mountain. He runs to who? He runs to his wife. But that's not something that's easy. He didn't run to the boys. He didn't run to the group chat. He didn't run to his mother. He could have ran to anyone, but he ran to the woman that showed him support. He ran to the woman that understood that he could be vulnerable with. He went to her shaking, literally shaking. Her holding him wasn't enough. He said, Zamiluni, cover me. I'm so scared. Imagine your husband running to you and telling you, I'm so scared. You feel what the hell happened? Man up? No, but this is what happens when you have a true loving wife at home. You're able to come running to her, crying, shaking, scared, happy, fearful, whatever emotion. You know you have a space at home to express that emotion too. When we talk about marriages, it's about creating spaces for one another, not just yourself. We're so self-centered about creating a home for me. What about him? You gotta think about your spouse. And so he came running to her, running, shaking, wanting to be held like a baby. This is what the prophet, the manliest of men, the greatest man to ever exist, went running to a woman. You're going to get married, inshallah. You got to make sure your husband runs to you, not anyone else. Not his mother, not his sister, not his brother, not his friends. To you. You're never going to love anyone more than you love your husband. There was a woman after a battle. There were so many casualties, so many companions that died. So they went to this woman. They told her, your father died. And she says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To Allah, we all return to. They said, your brother died. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We all return back to Allah. They said, your husband died. And she broke down crying because Your father is a great man, I promise you. Your brothers you love, but your husband is different. The way you're going to love your husband is going to be more than you can ever imagine. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're meant to love him like no other. Don't feel like you have to be stingy with love. Love is free. Love is endless. Give it to him. Give it to her. You want her to run to you, right? You don't want her to run to her friends that doesn't know what the hell's going on. You don't want her to run to her sister who already hates you. You don't want her to run to her mother that's going to call your mother. You want her to run to you. So you got to ask yourself, what can I do in my marriage to make sure she runs to me? Not to anyone else, because you're never going to find a woman you love like your wife. Even though your mother is the greatest woman you know, if you know how to have a successful marriage, you know how to balance your mother and your wife and making them both feel valued and loved. So what happens next as a wife? The Prophet tells her what happened. He says, I think Allah is going to embarrass me. I think Allah wants to humiliate me. I think I did something wrong. This is not the Prophet's thinking. He's insecure. You're going to have moments where your husband comes home insecure. You're going to have moments where your wife feels insecure about the way she looks and feels and everything about that. What should you do? When your wife comes home and says, I'm so fat and ugly. No, you're not. You're so skinny. No, she's overweight. Okay? You say, oh, no, you're the most beautiful. No, she's not. She's okay. Because, no offense, no offense. I'm coming to them, don't worry. All right? What I'm trying to say is you can't lie to her. There's a difference when she says, how do I look? That's different. She wants you to compliment her. That's different. You better lie to her. But when she's feeling insecure and low from facing the reality of this world, what should you do? Should you lie to her? It may make her feel confident. She may believe you, but then when she goes back outside and goes to a party or goes outside with her friends, she's like, yeah, I'm back to the reality of my real appearance and self-esteem and whatnot. Now the woman, your husband is going to come home sometimes insecure about business and work and friendships. What are you going to do? You're the best. You have the best business. You're the man. No, he's not the man. There's better men than him, I promise. So what are you going to say to him when he's insecure? Your children. Your son's going to come home to you. And he's going to feel dumb because he's not that smart. Are you going to lie to him? You're the smartest kid in the world. Everyone's wrong. They're wrong. They're jealous of you. As a mom, we have a lot of corrupt sons out here because moms raise their sons to think that they're the best person to ever exist. That they're God's gift. Not you guys. Right? So you got to think, how am I going to raise my son and my daughters with fake confidence, with lies, and then when they go out to the real world, they see the truth of who they are? I didn't build up a person. I gave them a fake mirror. I gave them a fake image of themselves, and it will be quickly shattered. That's not how you build people, with fake confidence. So how do you build people is the question. How do you build people's self-esteem and confidence when they feel really low? You tell them the truth about the good things that they have. What did Khadija say to him, radiallahu anha, when he's shaking and emotional? What did she say? She said, Allah will never humiliate you or make you or harm you. These are the reasons why. She said, you're good to your family. Is that a lie? You know, to give these compliments, you gotta really know somebody. You know, there's some people that come to me, they feel insecure. They want me to hype them up, but I'm just like, I don't know her good enough to give her the reality of what's really good about her, right? So this is important. You gotta have true relationships. And she knew her husband so well. She said, you're good to your family. That's number one. When people come to your house, you give them the best kind of hosting. You make them feel like it's your house. These are things like, when I'm saying the things, you're gonna be like, that's what she said? This is so generic. But it's true. When he left her, he left confident with the truth, not a fake image of who he is, the way we compliment each other. When a girl's feeling ugly or a girl poses herself, we put these lies under her pictures and comments. I want to rip your skin off. I want to become you. I am you. All this other dramatic comments we give other girls. And I never believe anyone's compliment compliments anymore. I saw that once. Wallah, I want to rip your face off. Wallah, I was just like, this is too much. And that's when I deactivated Instagram. And so, what did she say to him? She said, you're good to your family. She said, when people come to your house, you're a great host. She said, when people are financially, they need money, you're always there to help them. She said, when people are burdened with their tests, you know a friend when they're going through something, he was someone that actually helped the friend. That when someone needed money, he knew it. He didn't wait for them to ask. He went and helped them. When people came to his house, he didn't wait for them to knock. He was ready to accept them into his home, to make them feel welcome. He had good ties with his family. Half of us don't even talk to our families, and yet we're out here acting like we're great people. Meanwhile, your mom's upset with you at home. Meanwhile, your brother doesn't talk to you. Well, what's the point? What kind of community are we having if the home is broken? So you first have to start with the home. And then the people. And then the extension of that. And so Khadija, anha, she hyped up her husband with the truth. When you get married, you got to be honest with one another. You got to get to know each other so well that these compliments mean something. To us, it doesn't mean much. Because it's not being said about us. Because honestly, it's not true about me. Right? We don't feel connected to these compliments because we're not experiencing the truth of those compliments. But when you know someone and they feel low about themselves, how are you going to uplift them? As a wife? As a mother? How are you going to bring your husband up when he's feeling insecure? How will you uplift your wife when she's feeling down? These are the lessons we learn from Rumaysa radiallahu anha. These are the lessons we learn from Khadija radiallahu anha. We learn how to treat our spouses, whether you're a woman or a man. Even though they were women, I'm pretty sure, alhamdulillah, we learned some lessons from their marriages. Yes? Inshallah. I don't know if they're here. Inshallah. I believe, sorry. Oh, and then the last thing I'm going to say. After she hyped him up, she said, and you know what? I'm going to take it to my uncle. And he's going to show you that, you're not a crazy man, you're not this and that. As a spouse, you don't just hype them up with the truth. You got to bring them down to resources, right? To people that can actually benefit them. Your husband feels like a bum, he has no business, he has nothing going for him. Hype him up with the truth of his reality, what's good about him, and then say, you know what? I'm gonna bring you something. I'm gonna call my uncle, make sure he helps you out, gets you started, gets you on your feet. You know what I mean? You're there for him. And the same thing for you guys. When she's feeling low about herself, when her cooking is terrible, I'm gonna call my mom. I'm gonna tell her she has to give you some lessons, or whatever the case may be. So I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again, maybe we were expecting a different kind of talk, but I want us to understand what good marriages look like. We can't walk towards something we don't know how it looks. We gotta know marriage is something we all want. Alhamdulillah. Because there's people out there struggling with their identity, so alhamdulillah. And so this is something we all want, but we gotta know what we're walking towards. It's not what you see on Instagram. It's what you're seeing in the lives of the prophets, in the lives of the companions of anhum, and the lives of great men and women. And unfortunately, a lot of us go home and we don't see marriages we want. We don't. A lot of our homes are broken in different ways. But it doesn't mean you can't have a successful marriage. It doesn't mean you have to be your mother's keeper. You can be different. You don't have to be like your father. No one's perfect, and that's okay. Our parents tried their best with their marriage, with raising us. They tried their best. So we love and respect them, but we got to be smart too. What are we going to take? What are we going to leave back? What are we going to avoid? What are we going to make sure we don't do like our parents did? And try our best with what we have now. Because I'm pretty sure your parents' marriage is better than their parents' marriage. So inshallah we can, constantly improve this cycle. Hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses with spouses that are really the ones that we love, that bring us closer to Allah. I want you to imagine a triangle. This is not Illuminati. Okay? You and your spouse are at the base of the triangle. And what's actually going to draw you closer is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So on the base of the triangle are you and your spouse. On the top, the pinnacle of the triangle is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only way you actually draw closer to each other is when you draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is it. Anything else at that pinnacle won't last. Won't be true. Won't be honest. Won't benefit you in the akhirah. And we see with our parents' marriages. As much as they love each other, as much as they respect one another, if Allah's not the one drawing them closer, it's going to be a very difficult marriage for yourself. So leave Allah at the pinnacle of your triangle. Leave yourself at that base and have someone that you can level with. Some people, right, girls, oh, I want a religious man. Guess what? He wants a religious girl. So if you're not that, let him go. Some of us want a modest girl. Guess what? They want a modest man too. Some guys want a girl no one's been with. Guess what? Those girls also want men that no girl has been with. You're not above the expectation that you have of yourself. You have to know you attract what you are. If you feel like all the guys that are coming at you are trash, maybe you are trash. We're going to be honest. I want you to look at yourself. Not you guys, not you guys. Not you guys. Arab. Don't post this one. Because I tell them the Albanians. Alright? So I want you guys to take a hard look at yourself in the mirror. See who you really are. Have a vision of who you want to become. And work towards that vision. Again, marriage is a big topic. Many layers to it. I didn't want to start a subject, I'm not going to continue, but I just wanted to give you guys examples of successful marriages, because like I said, unfortunately, we don't know what that looks like. All right, let's raise our hands. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Ameen, Ya Rab. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with the best spouse that's going to be best for our iman in our hearts. Say Ameen. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows our home to shine with light in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Say Ameen. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows our house to be a place of salah, of worship, of dhikr, of remembrance of Allah. Say Ameen. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to find a husband, to find a wife that makes us better Muslims. Say Ameen. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to have righteous children. Say Ameen. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to remember one another in each other's du'as. If there's anyone here you like, there's loving each other is not haram. Acting on it inappropriately is where it becomes haram. If there's a sister in here you want, you go to her father. You be a man and you go to a man. You don't marry a woman through the woman. You go to her father. Sisters, if there's a man, sisters, if there's a man that you love and you like and is a good Muslim, you do what Khadija did, radiallahu anha. You send a third party and you get your man. I apologize if this is not the talk you guys were looking for, but inshallah it's the talk that we needed. Any questions?